guys. I hope everyone is all right and has had a decent day up to this point. It's 1:46 p.m. On the East Coast. Tulsi Gabbard has had an interesting interview with Baier on Fox News. Now, part of the reasoning that I love the fact that Bernie Sanders was going on to Fox News is because if he did a good job, and if not just I think he did a good job, if the rest of the field is acknowledging that he did a good job, then a certain pressure is put on them to also follow suit. Because I want this notion that you can't necessarily talk to Republican audiences, I think is a nonsense. It's some kind of political dogma that they have on their inside ball game per se. Sanders going on Fox News kind of makes that point clear. Being willing to take your argument to another audience. How much do you believe in what you say? Can you take a hit? Can you stand there in enemy territory? Well, Sanders was able to do it, and I would say a testament to that is that the other candidates are now thinking about going on Fox News. If I'm not mistaken, Klobuchar has come out saying she wants her, turned in the limelight. But in this case, Tulsi Gabbard has been one of the people that has gotten on Fox News. Not necessarily for a town hall, but at the very least has gone one-on-one with Baier. They got into a very interesting conversation on North Korea. Apparently, there's been a missile launch over the course of the last few days. And it was, news as it was taking place while they were having their interview. And so, of course, it came up. Now, this is great for Tulsi Gabbard because her wheelhouse is foreign policy. But you can imagine that the normal orthodoxy of what she's going to push or what they're going to push for versus what she's going to say is going to be different, which is going to get a back and forth with her and Baier on Fox News regarding foreign policy. And I love this. And again, not to be repetitive, this is why I want her on the debate stage. I want them having that exact same conversation with her brought out to the American audience. That's what I want. Noam Chomsky, one time, they asked Noam Chomsky, if you're so goddamn bright, why aren't your ideas more so on the main stage? And Noam Chomsky kind of made the point to him, my ideas never got a fair shot of being on the main stage because they're never brought up. Like this notion of being non-interventionalist doesn't get aired on the American stage. For the most part, if anything happens, it's automatically assumed that America is going to be doing something. This notion of should we be doing something doesn't even get brought up to the forefront. It's not even asked. So I want her on that debate stage asking that question of, hey, should we be getting involved in this or that? Maybe we should be rethinking our foreign policy with regards to the way we're interacting with countries around the world. I want that on the main debate stage. But in this case, this is Baier, Tulsi Gabbard. Conversation about foreign policy, specifically North Korea. Listen to how she weaves in Venezuela and our foreign policy with regards to Libya and Iraq and these other countries into this conversation. Because again, you can't have these conversations in this kind of just specific way. There are larger contexts involved.
It appears that a missile has been fired at North Korea, some sort of tactical guided missile. It's not confirmed by the Pentagon or the administration yet, but they're citing South Korean news agencies and agencies over there. That would mean, if true, that 591 days have passed since the last missile was fired. You're on House Armed Services. Your thoughts if that turns out to be the case?
Well, look, Brett, obviously we need to determine the facts and get the details of what has actually happened here. But I think it's important to address the larger issue, which is that we still need to continue to pursue our efforts with negotiations with North Korea to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula and finally bring about an end to the Korean War. I think in this connection, it is also important to note why it is that we have not made progress on that deal. And we can look to the policies being pushed by this administration that are directly undermining their ability to negotiate this deal. Those policies that are continuing to further regime change wars and regime change efforts in other countries like Venezuela and Iran that make it impossible for Kim Jong-un to believe them when they tell him, don't worry, get rid of your nuclear weapons. We're not going to come after you.
So how would you handle it differently?
They're undermining their own credibility and the ability by changing our policies. This is not something that can happen overnight, but it begins with ending our regime change wars in other countries, ending our regime change efforts, as we are seeing in these countries like Venezuela and Iran, so that when we negotiate with North Korea, with Kim Jong-un, and we tell him that we will not come after you, we will not seek to topple your regime if you get rid of your nuclear weapons, understanding that this is why North Korea has nuclear weapons, as the only deterrent against regime change, then we begin to have that credibility to be able to have that agreement to achieve that objective of denuclearization.
Basically, you're saying you would do what the administration is doing. You would be talking to Kim Jong-un, but you wouldn't do what they're doing in other places so that you would send the right signal to Kim Jong-un. I'm just trying to get what you would do differently with North Korea, understanding the situation.
Of course.
That answer is uber rational. Like, no, granted, some of this is politics, right? She's gonna, it's like, Tulsi, what are you trying to do? I'm trying to end regime change wars. What are you trying to do again? I'm trying to end regime change wars. I need to say that as fast and as many times as I can possibly say within the course of a minute. Fair enough. She's doing what she has to do from the standpoint of getting a policy idea out. And that's her platform, so I totally understand it. But it's uber rational and uber logical. You are having a conversation with Kim Jong-un in North Korea. The U.S. position, whatever the president, look, it freaks people out when you're firing missiles. Now, their position is, well, it freaks us out when you're pretending to invade our country. So, yes, we're going to have nuclear missiles because that is our deterrent. You guys seem to be maniacs. You've been invading countries. You can understand that we're a little, hesitant to let our main ace card go. No, we're not necessarily looking to attack anybody, but yes, we will defend ourselves. U.S. position, but it freaks us out when you fire your missiles abroad. So fair enough. But nobody really engages that point of it freaks them out. If that makes sense. That part is always left off the table, that North Korea is freaked out by the United States' actions abroad. So when we come to them and say, we need you to get rid of nuclear missiles, they say, kick rocks. Why would we trust you? Her point is, if you really want any legitimacy, if you want any credibility when you're having these negotiations, then, you can't be trying to topple other governments abroad. It looks bad. When one of your people in politics say, the Gaddafi answer, meaning essentially we get him to get rid of his nuclear weapons and then go after and kill him by toppling the government itself. That looks bad. Or you're in the process of doing the same thing to Venezuela. That looks bad. When you're looking at doing the same thing to Iran, it looks bad. All of it looks bad. So when you go to one of the other countries that you expressly dislike, and you say, hey, we need you to get rid of your ace card. Come on, you can trust us, right? While simultaneously attacking other countries abroad. That looks bad. No, they're not going to trust anything that's coming out of your mouth. Why would they? Why would they? That's her point. Credibility. You need to have a certain degree of credibility if you're going to engage in any kind of talks with other nations that you don't particularly like, especially around this idea of them giving up something that they seem or that they use for issues of security. Hyper and uber logical. Now, Baier, he's a Fox News host. And what's more important to him is we need to make Trump look good. So his response to what she just said was, so you're saying you'll do what the president is doing, just not the other foreign policy stuff. She starts laughing here, if you notice. That was the point here. She starts laughing because she's a politician. She understands what the hell is taking place here in this conversation. But she also understands that she is here to get out a very specific point of view with regards to foreign policy. And she does exactly what she set out to do. Let's go back to this for a moment because I want you to see the part where she laughs at the way he characterizes what she just said.
This is why North Korea has nuclear weapons, as the only deterrent against regime change. Then we begin to have that credibility to be able to have that agreement to achieve that objective of denuclearization.
Basically, you're saying you would do what the administration is doing. You would be talking to Kim Jong-un, but you wouldn't do what they're doing in other places so that you would...
Oh, I love this. I love politics. She knows what's taking place. She's like, I'm on Fox News. They're going to get their points. They're going to get the things that they're trying to get out to the public. There's some 74-year-old grandmother somewhere who's like, the president is doing the right thing on this. I'm glad the Democratic candidate agrees. They know what's going on. She knows what's going on. She's there, however, to get her point of view across. Like Bernie Sanders said, if you ask me a fair question, I give you a fair answer. And there are going to be things that pertain to them more so that they care about. Fair enough. Doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have a conversation about those things. But yeah, he's a Fox News host. So what does Fox News hosts do? They want to make their guy look good. Let's let her finish. I interrupted because I thought this was funny. Let's keep going. Let's let him finish.
Send the right signal to Kim Jong-un. I'm just trying to get what you would do differently with North Korea, understanding the situation.
Of course. Look, absolutely. I've served in Congress now for over 6 years and on the Armed Services and Foreign Affairs committees. And under the Obama administration, I encouraged them to have direct talks with North Korea to achieve this objective of denuclearization, encouraged the Trump administration to do the same, and agreed when Trump decided to meet with Kim Jong-un. We must be willing to meet with those who may be potential adversaries or adversaries in the pursuit of peace and security. So yes, this is the correct move. However, this administration is undermining their own efforts by continuing to further these regime change efforts and wars in other parts of the world, making it so they've got no credibility as they're trying to barter and negotiate with North Korea and get them to denuclearize.
Okay, obviously the administration says it differently, trying to put the screws to some of these dictators that are doing bad things. I want to turn the topic
ultimately, they are trying to topple the dictators in these other countries, topple the leaders of these other countries, which is the point that I'm trying to make.
All right, Congresswoman,
which is they cannot, in good faith, make that point to Kim Jong-un.
The other breaking news, which is we're waiting for this release of the redacted.
He doesn't get it. He doesn't see it. I don't know if he doesn't see it or he doesn't care. But what he's saying doesn't make, their audience can't be this shallow. Like, she says something that was infinitely true that I don't know how you disagree with. He's like, well, he's trying to put the screws to some of these dictators. And she makes the point, he is trying to change the governments of those countries. Let's be very clear of what you're trying to yada yada with this kind of put the screws to as a euphemism. He's trying to get rid of people in other countries, and in doing so, delegitimizes him within regards to being any kind of negotiations. How can I trust you when the thing that you're telling me you're not going to do, you're doing it in various places abroad? And he just misses this. He completely misses this. How can you miss this? Either you miss it or you don't care. I don't know which one it is. But what she just said is completely right. I don't know how you argue with it. I honestly don't know how you disagree with that point. And maybe you just disagree with it. He's just trying to more sort of explain it. But the explanation doesn't work. Let's see. There was a Streamlabs. Come on. They make you go through all of these hoops. And Kim Jong-un. Oh, Hiro, I give up nukes when you give up fried chicken. Y'all know black man can't be talking about blunts, white women, and fried chicken. I had a friend of mine that had this. He had a fetish for white women. It happens. I suppose the other way happens too. She's awesome, man. I love her policies on this stuff. So, Tulsi Gabbard will be on the debate stage. Full stop. Alright, I want to end this because I have one more video that I want to do. Baier looks like a 75-year-old trying to look 45 years old. I don't know how old Baier is. If you notice, he's been hitting those weights. Elephants on Coke, oh my goodness. She wants to talk to horrible people. I'm sorry, pundit class, that's called diplomacy. Look, I think it's a good thing that she's on here. Balthazar, my trouble with her is mostly a tone thing. I really need some righteous, justified anger. Yes! I'm not the only one on this. I don't think I'm the only one on this. It's not so much of what she's saying. I think I've said that more than one occasion. When she's talking about foreign policy, I like her measured approach. So don't misunderstand me. I don't want somebody flying off the handle on foreign policy. But when she is engaging on domestic issues, and she's keeping that calm, measured tone on something that I don't want her to be calm and measured on, then I think she doesn't. There is some righteous indignation that's in the population itself, and I don't think she connects to that righteous indignation by being calm and measured. That's all. That's all. All right. I am going to end this. Let's see. Make sure I haven't missed anything. Come on. All right. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you guys in like 10, 15 minutes. I have another video that I want to do. This one is on Sanders, oddly enough. And I kind of want to make a point. In fact, there are like 2 videos after that. The stuff that's coming up now. One of the things that are coming up having to do with these guys are now pushing for impeachment. And it's like, what are you trying to impeach him on? Well, he obstructed justice. What did he obstruct justice on? The thing that didn't exist that you said it. I shit you not. And it's like, if you impeach Trump, so you're okay with Pence taking over? The logic of this stuff is becoming bizarre. And like, we're brought up in a conversation with Tracy. This is not just coming from the established Democrat class. Like, this is not the Pelosi's of the world. This is the Ocasios of the world. So I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about how Sanders is engaging it. How Sanders engaging this is probably the most measured, most logical thing in the world. And it is very possible that regardless of how he's trying to approach it, he will get dragged down into the abyss that is Russiagate. We'll see. But I kind of want to talk about it coming up in the next video. So if you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. And Belt hit me at the very end as I was closing. Good. Missed the Streamlabs. I missed the Streamlabs, did I? Static Shock. Hey bro, let's go zap white people. We can ride on a circle shield through the sky and zap crackers and smoke what? That's an old one. There's a new Barack Obama. Yeah, I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that. That's going to be a Streamlabs that just gets missed. But thank you, Belt, for trying to help them out. All right, guys. I'll see you guys in like 15 minutes. Thanks all. And